I was thinking to myself, today's a good day to play Iceborne. I even put on my Monster Hunter shirt. I thought to myself, Capcom, I can't wait to enjoy your game that is finally released on the PC. Then last night, I was chilling post-stream. I saw a thread on Reddit. It says, release SFV Netcode fix. There's the download and the source code, the instructions. And it's made by Altimore. Altimore has made some other mods for fighting games in the past. Something that I've used, I use the hitbox viewer for Guilty Gear. He says, why is this needed? Street Fighter V has a bug where one player's game can lag behind the others online. This can cause artificial lag and one-sided rollback for the other player. And we've talked about this before, because many other devs who don't even know what Street Fighter looks like under the hood have just from their visuals been like, you know what? The issue is probably a clock syncing issue. Mike Z has said it, Keeds has said it, the Cannons have said it, Zynak has said it and showed examples of it. Tons of people have been like, you know, it's probably this issue. And if people ask, well, if it is that issue, how hard is it to fix? And all of them have been like, yeah, it's not that hard. So he says, if one player lags behind, the other player will receive inputs from further in the past, in quotes, up to 15 frames, and they should, causing unnecessarily big rollbacks and artificial lag. While the player that's behind may even be receiving inputs that appear to be in the future to their game and never experience any rollbacks at all. This is the one-sided rollback you hear about so much. This fix ensures that your clock never gets more than half of the packet round-trip time ahead of your opponents so that you never need to experience more rollback than them. He says, fix your shit, Cap Clown. This took me a bit over 2 days to make, while Capcom hasn't patched the bug for 4 years. Most of this was reverse engineering. It would take more like 30 minutes with the source code. Mike Z even made a tweet pinpointing the cause of the bug during the beta. And for more clarity about what the syncing issue is, Mob made another thread talking about the clock syncing issue, right? And he says, all right, let's explain the latency bug again for the dozenth time. So the idea behind rollback is that as soon as you get the input from the other player, you roll back the game and resimulate the parts that acted differently. In a lockstep game, both players are expected to run the game at the same rate. So what happens if one player lags due to system lag? They see 1 frame less rollback and the opponent sees 1 frame more. And this can stack indefinitely, really, which is what's happening in Street Fighter, right? To fix that, we need to synchronize the timing of the two players so their games are at the same point at the same time. GGPO does this with a technique it calls frame advantage, which measures who is ahead and tries to compensate. Street Fighter V doesn't do any such timing synchronization in the middle of a round. It just lets it fall all out of sync until it can't go any further. That this has remained unfixed for as long as it has is intensely frustrating, and I'm glad someone did something about it. Somebody, not Capcom, somebody did it. The first reaction from people were like, who the fuck are you? Why the fuck do I care about this? And I was like, okay, well, let me just see how this shakes out. People have been playing on it, and it's been working. In their experiences, against each other. Here's the thing. I'm going to show you guys a couple of clips and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the situations that have been occurring with this and some of the stuff. So Sheldon is a streamer that I've watched quite a few times on Twitch. He plays Akuma, as you can see here. He's playing up against somebody, and this is without the netcode fix. And as you can see, it doesn't look so bad. And as they go, you start to see a little bit more teleporting and wiggling as they move around and stuff. And frames of animation are just being shaved off things because of the rollback, right? You see, as they walk back and forth, nice and choppy, rollbacks are happening, especially in the movement, right? When you're doing joystick movement left and right. See this? Yeah, you see that right there where Guile is? One thing I want to make very clear is that some people installed it and say, I still see teleporting, it doesn't work. Rollback will still have teleporting whether it is a functioning version of rollback or not, right? Teleporting is normal if there is a lot of lag, especially this is a cross-coast connection. Someone in the chat says Maine to California. So this is after the fix, where both of them have installed the fix on PC. This is what it looks like.
How does it look on your side, as Helix? I will say the inputs, they don't feel delayed or anything.
Yep, because it's rollback, there shouldn't be delayed inputs. But look at that.
I mean, it's not perfect.
Right? You see that? It looks way better. You can check out his channel. I'll show it right here. Sheldon Twitching. You can see it up here. He streams Street Fighter all the time. Then there's a bunch of other people doing it. So Arlieth was streaming it online, and he was playing with Kaoma. They're 6,000 miles away from each other or something, and they showed the pre and post patch. They showed examples of that where it's working better. This is the unpatched version of the game. This is Brazil to what's it called? Socal. Yeah, you saw his wake up button come out and then disappear because it never happened. See this? See what we're looking at here? This is the unpatched version. So then they go to the patch version. This is Brazil to California.
Oh, this is actually way better. playable.
Yeah, not perfect, but considering the distance, this is what rollback looks like when someone's really far away from you. He showed an example of him playing a gunfight. You know, that's US West Coast to Japan to Tokyo. Much better than before. Arlie has also made a video on how to install it, right? And how to make it work. And how to make it work for Corvo, who dropped the big Twitch Prime. So there's a few things that really are disappointing here, right? One is I'm seeing Street Fighter V players play East Coast to the West Coast of the United States, and they're like, oh my God, it works. That is such a sad feeling to me. That should not be a foreign feeling to a human who plays a rollback-based game at all. In fact, it should be normal with that kind of netcode, right? It should have always been possible. So this is just a guy creating this fix. This is just Altimore making this and then putting it out there, and it only working on PC. And the way it works is that PC to PC, when they both have the patch, in most cases so far, seems like it's doing okay. It's doing something that the game is supposed to be doing with this clock synchronization that it wasn't before. Now, here's the deal. It's not perfect. This is not super tested, right? He said he did some testing on his own and everything, but this is not super tested. This is not without issues. And also, people are saying that if you play with people on PS4, the horrible one-sided rollback that generally I feel like it didn't only affect PC players, but it did sometimes, now affects PS4 players much worse. So playing PC to PS4 on this is not working. And this is not perfect. It's just an attempt at it. Does that mean that Altimore can't like refine and try to fix more stuff with it? Absolutely, right? He's totally able to do that. Now, people have said, well, this should only take Capcom 2 days to do it. And then there's other people who are like, well, they're a developer, so they have to, you know, make it. After they create it, they obviously have to test it for a while. They have to make sure it doesn't break anything else in their game. There's more dev time that goes into this than just creating something and launching it like this. Keats and other developers have theorized how long it would take to fix and stuff like that. Keats said about a week or two of like full dev time. And this has been an issue for 4 years. This is such a big deal, right? Maybe there's more stuff that needs to be done as well. So maybe instead of 1 week, it'll take 3 to 4 weeks or whatever it is, right? A month. Maybe it'll take a month from start to finish to get this out. But can you imagine just how beneficial it is to the entire community and people interested in playing your game if the netcode worked? And in fact, it would probably be one of the biggest things they could do to get people interested in playing and buying their game. Should have killed me.
Level 3, that was so
Also should have killed FGC Werewolf. Thanks very much. Hey, Andy Lols, how does it look for you? Are you having any issues? Seems great for me. The crossplay is a big issue right now. Obviously, what's happening here, when you play with the PC version, right, clocks are syncing, and so it's working correctly. Now, when you play against people who are on the PS4 is not doing what proper rollback's supposed to do and what this patch does. So the PS4 just gets completely out of sync, and you receive a ridiculous amount of wild rollback. And it's wild that the guy I met once came through and dropped the big 5 months. What up, Felipe? How's it going? And playing with PC is really rough for them right now. So what people have done instead is they've said, okay, well, on the game, when you matchmake, you can just search for same platform only. So PS4 can search for PS4, PC can search for PC. And people are like, okay, we should just do that instead. And PS4 people are obviously very upset, and they say, you've ruined cross-platform play, which is one of the most important things about the game. I don't know if me, the PC user, I want to use this new patch because I can't play people who are on PS4. That shrinks the player base. Well, your experience with the new patch should probably be actually better because your potential amount of opponents may increase in terms of distance that you can play somebody from versus before. So let's say before in your region, most of the people are on PS4, which they are. If you are unable to do that now because of the patch on PC, you can probably play someone who's way farther away, right? It is something that is potentially very useful. And as this patch gets more refined, it's probably something that PC players will want to think about. The other thing about crossplay and it not working and stuff, I saw this comment and I couldn't believe I read it out loud. The reason that Capcom has never implemented this fix is because it would break crossplay, and that's why they've never fixed it. What a silly thing to say. Obviously, this fix would work on PS4. It's why games that have had rollback netcode on PS4 and Xbox and other consoles in the past have existed. Oh, I was gonna teleport through his firewall. I mean, this is very far. This is very far away. You guys should have seen. Hey, Moste. Do you happen to have the footage of the last time him and I played?
Fight.
Oh boy. I tried to parry the dive kick. Watch this. Boom, 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 boom. We tried to play before, and it was like, you couldn't even believe it, how bad it was. I asked for Finland, and okay, well, that flag is convincing. This is gonna be pretty bad for the record. This should show you that this fix is, as people who have worked on rollback netcode assured you before, not difficult to do. It's really just about whether Capcom wants to spend time and money improving the netcode. You've already spent this much money to put rollback in your game, or whatever it is, right? I don't know how much it's cost you, but this, an extra bit of developer time to make it work correctly is what we're looking at here. Now, a lot of people have been asking, what is Capcom gonna do about it? I honestly don't know what their solution is. My first thought when I saw this was Capcom will just pretend this doesn't exist. They're just gonna be like, hey guys, Monster Hunter released today. Don't pay attention to anything that happened over there. I think that's not unlikely that it's just ignored. Even though it fucks up crossplay for their players and stuff, the netcode's already been bad for years and years and years and years. The other thing is some people have said that they might acknowledge it and try to stop people from using it. I don't think that's unlikely. I think the other thing is it's very unlikely they could try to do something like this themselves and actually implement it into the game. Now that, I don't know if I buy that either. I honestly don't know what they're going to do about it. What I can tell you is I think that as this patch comes out and it is more refined, it'll probably be very, very useful for PC players to play against each other. And I think what we'll probably likely see is lots of players who are very invested in the game and the title and use the patch to play against other PC players, so that they can play against really high-level players that maybe they couldn't play against before because of distance, so that they can, you know, actually play the game online like they're supposed to be able to. So the other thing is that with the Olympic announcement and online tournaments being such a big push, current netcode already means that online tournaments are a joke for most of the time, right? If the game doesn't have good netcode, online tournaments, people don't take them very seriously. Even if great players play in them and win, it's like, ugh. This is the US to Finland. It's obviously not fantastic, but that's not that bad, all things considering. Oh, is this the guy that David played? I see. If this looks bad, don't be surprised. This is not gonna look good. All right, I'll pick a character that can win regardless of the connection. Somebody brings up the alt-tabbing thing. Alt-tabbing already used to fuck with crossplay connections before, or connections in general. PC alt-tabbing used to always do that. I think that this is just such a big thing to happen. My biggest hope is that it makes people realize that it doesn't have to be this shitty. Because I feel bad for these Street Fighter players who I don't actually feel bad for them. To be honest, I feel sad for them when I see people who have been playing Street Fighter 5 for years play a good match for once across the coast and be like, oh my God, rollback works. I want to feel bad for them, but at the same time, I'm like, brother, there's been 100 examples of rollback being good in the last, I don't know, since you bought this game, 5, 6, 7 years or whatever it's been. There's been tons of working rollback in all this time. And if you haven't sought it out and seen that it could work, then you just don't know. I think the biggest thing is if you are considering using this version, please play with other PC players who you know have this version installed, right? Just play against other people on PC and enjoy the netcode working properly with your friends until it's fixed, right? Ultimer says that he thinks maybe he can make it so that it functions just like it did before, so that crossplay would work. The amount of players that you can play on PC that you could not play before because of the netcode is actually a much larger group of players than it used to be. So there's plenty of players you can go find matches with that are very far from you that you probably couldn't even ever play before. Yeah, crossplay has always been a little dodgy on this anyway, right? Because usually one-sided rollback occurs anyway. One-sided rollback happens quite often in PS4 versus PC currently in Street Fighter before this was a thing. And for a lot of people are upset at people using this mod. They're like, how dare you play with this mod? And you're ruining the crossplay experience. You should not be mad at these people. You should instead be blaming the fact that this game has existed like this for 4 years without a fix. That some guy, to be fair, Ultimer is like a legend for doing shit like this, but his dead ass looks like a normal CFN match. That's what California to Africa looks like. Yeah, it was fine. I got the job done. Somebody fixed in 2 days of work. Obviously not a complete fix. I shouldn't say fix. He band-aid, you know, it's a bandage over a bleeding wound, right? You shouldn't be upset at Ultimer or anybody who uses the patch, right? You should instead be upset at the people who have allowed this version of the game to exist for 4 years without changing it. You cannot justify having a game not work for 4 years online while releasing new versions and content constantly, when the fix is, like, the issue is known. So if they want to ignore it for years and years and years and years, you just have to be honest and be like, well, okay. I can't even begin to explain how hilarious and also frustrating this is. You know what I mean? When we talked a lot about netcode like 2 or 3 months ago or whatever, the whole time I was like, you know, Street Fighter netcode doesn't work and people know why. And the fix is not that difficult. All these other developers have said it's not that difficult. And I don't know if people believe them, or by extension, me saying, hey, it's not that hard to fix this. There it is. It's right there on the screen. You can see it. If you're not Mike Ross, no one believes you. I gotta pay him. I gotta pay him to come on my stream and sing the good gospel truth. In talking about rollback and seeing Street Fighter players tweet about rollback and stuff, a lot of them have not read any of the netcode articles or don't give a shit about why the netcode doesn't work, or even looked into why it doesn't work, which is very sad and disappointing considering there's been so much research about it. And you shouldn't talk about why the netcode is or isn't fixed unless you really have looked into it at least a little bit, right? You know what I love about this post, by the way? There's 2,041 upvotes, so it hit the front page of Reddit probably. It has 6K on our games. Now let me look at this. On the top of our games, it's guy from the SF subreddit takes 2 days to fix 4 years of Street Fighter V's broken one-sided rollback netcode. It's right there, and right next to Guest Perry God, gifting the big 5 smackaroos. I stole that shit out of the deep, dark, dank places of my heart. This is West Coast to East Coast. How does it feel? I mean, how does it look? It looks how it feels. It feels how it looks. 2 days, 8 frames, 1 rootkit. The Street Fighter V story. Now listen, if that wasn't so goddamn catchy, I wouldn't have read it out loud. What did Zynax say? He says that he doesn't expect a certain company to address the issue since saving face is such a priority for companies in this country. Admitting to failure is an impossible concept. Better to ignore an issue then accept that you made a mistake and apologize. I'm with you there. He works at a Japanese company. He understands. It's rough out here, man. This is what it's like to be a fighting game fan, though. One of the biggest fighting games on the market has rollback netcode that is non-functional and somebody fixed in a couple of days of work without having access to their source code. So the next biggest fighting game out there is Tekken 7, which has no rollback netcode, so the experience online is just bad in general. The tutorial experience, even after being added, is weak, and we have to pay for frame data. Sick. Who doesn't like paying for frame data? We've got Guilty Gear coming out soon. Guilty Gear and Grand Blue. Excited about those. They'll probably both have delay-based netcode that don't work very well. Bad experience for everybody. Simplified fighting games, because, you know, it's going to be really fun when all the fighting games out there are simplified all the way down to the most simple way they can make them function. And that way it'll attract the new players. Not having working netcode, maybe free to play, maybe having like a rotating amount of options for characters, selling tons of like, you know, cosmetics, maybe, you know, using crowdfunding in some way to help prize pools, having built-in tutorials, you know, doing all the things that are successful games in any other genre would do to push their brand forward, right? Instead, it's much better if they just don't pay attention to any of that and just make the game simple. So that way, when all the people who jump on it who are new play the game, don't enjoy it regardless of whether it's easy or hard or not, because they just stop by and they play the game, right? They're like, okay, I played it, it's cool, I'm out of here, I'm gonna go play some Fortnite. That way all the dedicated fans are left there with a simplified fighting game that they will enjoy less. Now the game is simplified for all the fighting game players left to just sit there and be like, well, I guess this is my game from now until the end of time. That was pretty good. As good as Annoying or dropping the big sub. What the fuck is happening on Twitch right now? That was a good connection. Hey, how was that for you, by the way? Was the connection cool? Yeah, Sate says it was very playable. So that was US to Chile. You know, not all simplifications are bad either. They're gonna be good ones. I'm just worried about the kind of stuff we're seeing. We live in a time where we're counting on Riot to set a new bar for what we expect out of fighters. Not even just them. It's like Altimore set the new bar. In the fighting game community, there's already fantastic games that we have that have working netcode, right? And then this guy showed up and he was like, oh, I finished making the hitboxes for all these characters and stuff and all these other games. Well, maybe I should just fix Street Fighter V's netcode. I got a couple of days. Again, there's fantastic sources out there if you want to learn about rollback netcode. People will always make excuses for stuff. I feel like there's not a recognition or like an ability to look wide and compare the stuff that other developers and other communities have compared to like fighting games and realize the kinds of stuff that exist in other places and like fighting game fans just don't have, and they think it's very normal. I feel like I've been just yelling into the void, right? Like we've just been talking about this for so long. It's been something that has existed and can exist in all kinds of different fighting games, right? It's not like it's magic. Somebody showed up and was like, all right, I guess I'll just do this shoddy patch and we'll see how it goes. And it's like, people are like, oh my God, it's incredible. That is so hilarious. It makes me laugh because all the people who are like, look, man, for them to fix the netcode, it costs too much money. They're not gonna do it. They're not gonna care. And then this guy does it and ruins the cross-platform play experience for now anyway. And people are just like, I gotta buy CE now to play this new version. I gotta reinstall it. I gotta download this update. I'm playing it now. The netcode's good, blah, blah. Imagine if just like Capcom released a version of this themselves that was fully functioning. Holy fucking shit! Bro, this guy lives in Australia. This motherfucker lives in Australia. I saw a kangaroo jump in his pouch and I fucking saw it. Woozy, how does this look to you? It was pretty bad on your end? Okay. That would make sense, because it looks too good on my end. It must be one-sided rollback. Maybe we don't have it installed correctly. I'm not sure. Maybe he doesn't. I feel pretty good about what we've tested so far. Seems like it's doing what it's supposed to do, right? It's not perfect, but it's doing what it's supposed to do. I told you, I was like, look at this other game. It works perfectly normal. It works perfectly fine. If it was just, if it worked correctly, if they implemented it correctly, it would work. I was like, rollback can be fantastic. Y'all motherfuckers, as always, are just afraid to use your eyes to look at any other fighting game. I told you. The developers told you. Don't even listen to me. Who gives a fuck what I say? Listen to all these other developers who have worked on rollback and been like, you know, if Capcom wanted to fix that, it wouldn't take them very long.